So what are the most important factors to consider when buying property?
Look, I think one of the challenges of buying property is there's just such an overwhelming amount of information. And if you look at, if you type property investment into Google, you'll get back, 500-600 responses, which is just a ridiculously
600,000?
600 million.
Million?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So it's just an overwhelming amount of information. So, look, I think there's an old phrase that was attributed to Einstein. I don't know whether he said it or not, but he said that if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it well enough.
Yeah.
So I think simplicity is important. I think distilling down, really getting to the essence of it. And I think if you were to cast aside those 600 million pages on Google, there's really sort of three things, maybe 3 to 5 key factors that we're really looking for when we're looking to buy. And I think the first one is just super important, is you really want to be buying something that has the lowest supply and the highest demand. So you really want to be buying in areas that are consistently undersupplied. And look, that's one of the reasons we've structured our business so we've got buyers agents in all the major capital cities, because that's where the demand is. And really, irrespective of what's going on in the economy, there's always going to be, in the best areas, there's always going to be an undersupply there. At the moment, Australia's running this massive immigration rate, and whether you agree with it or not, there's a tremendous number of people coming in. Now, where are all of those people going? Well, largely they're going to Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane and Perth. They're going to our major capital cities. And so that's where there's going to be consistent demand. And so that demand supply imbalance is really, one of the major factors that we're looking for. Probably the second factor is that's super important is it's really land and the appreciation of land that does the heavy lifting in terms of growth. So over time, it's the building that's depreciating in value. So really, if you're spending $1 million, it's a nice round number. What we like to see is we really like to see 70, 80% of that $1 million being in land value, because over time, that's what's appreciating, that's what's in short supply, that's what's scarce. And so we want to buy an asset that reflects that. So really what that does is that completely excludes high density, and really what we're buying by and large is houses in good areas, because that's the asset that's going to grow. So the next factor that we're looking for is historical growth. We really want to see that a property, a suburb, has actually performed well over the last 25 to 30 years, because what we see is that you can look at regional areas, rural areas, and those areas can get and they do get their day in the sun for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. But what we want to see is an asset and a suburb that's actually performed well during good times and bad times. So we want to see a record of good, solid long-term growth over a 25 to 30-year period. So if you're really distilling it down to just 3 factors, I think those 3: persistent supply-demand imbalance, high land to asset value ratio, and the third one,
high growth.
Yeah, I guess too, I'd like to add to that. Certainly when buying an investment property, investing, there's time in the market and timing of the market. Yeah. And timing of the market is absolutely crucial, because what I've found over the years of doing this is unfortunately, people are like sheep. They get in at the tail end of the market, and then what we'll see is those markets might go sideways for a period, or have nominal growth. And if the suburb's getting, say, 4% per annum growth and interest rates are 6%, well, it's not such a great investment. But if you get the timing right, if you get at the very beginning of any sort of 7-year upswing, well, then you typically make 80% of the gains during that period of time. So well, of course, you've got to be in the market for long enough. There's time in the market and timing the market. You've got to be in the market for a certain period of time. But if you get the timing right, you stand to make a lot more money.
Yep.
So look, I think to sum up, really for me, the most important elements when you're looking to buy a piece of real estate, not just in investment real estate, but even when you're looking to buy a home, is you really want that that scarcity, that uniqueness. You really want that low supply, high demand. You want high land to asset value ratio. You want 80% of what you're buying to be land value. You really want to see that established historical growth record over the long term, 25 to 30 years. But I think, two other key elements are really that location amenity. You want that proximity to employment generators, good schools, parks, cafe village, lifestyle, all of those kinds of elements that we want to, we all want to have when we're choosing a place to live. And really the other one is I suppose a negative one. It's just avoiding negative elements. So think about all of those factors that you don't want to live near. So you don't want to live on a main road, you don't want to live in a high crime area, you don't want a property with a compromised floor plan, you don't want a property with compromised land in some way. So there's a whole list of them, but to the degree that you can really nail those 5, if you just, for the sake of simplicity and really distilling it down, if you're able to do that and really knock those 5 out, you're going to buy a great piece of real estate.